Greetings. This is Kim Turcotte of kimturcotte.com, and I am here today with your Moon Magic Energy Forecast for our first full moon of 2023, which is a full moon in Cancer happening on January 6th at 6:08 p.m. Eastern Time. So, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2023. I think this year is going to be an exciting one for a lot of us. And that can mean that doesn't mean that there aren't any challenges, but I do think that given what we've experienced the last couple of years, 2023 is going to be a lot softer and a lot smoother for us to navigate. And with that, let's jump into this full moon energy forecast. So normally, I think what most people experience when that calendar flips to January 1st is the immediate kind of energy of, let's hit the ground running. I'm going to make this year the best year yet. And it's this very action-oriented, driven, high-paced energy. But what the full moon this year and the other astrological placements are asking us to do is actually to slow down a little bit. Okay, so this full moon is in Cancer, and Cancer is all about our close and familial relationships. So it's really about home, and it's about that the closeness, the relationships that are really important to us, and honestly, what truly matters in our heart. Cancer is a very emotional sign. It's really about what matters in here to us. Okay. Now, at the same time, we have the sun in Capricorn, and Capricorn is really all about the like work-oriented, meeting your career goals, go-getter energy. It's that go-getter energy. So you kind of have this contradiction. And what it's really highlighting is work-life balance. And when I say that, I think most people will think that we need to look at, if we're working too much and not paying enough attention to our close relationships. But it can also mean the opposite, where we're giving everything to the people who are closest to us, and we're not nurturing the work that's important to us in the world. So it can go both ways. And I really encourage you to sit with that. I've put together some journal prompts for this, which you can find in the link below this video. But I really encourage you to take some time for the first couple of weeks of the year and be still and really look at what is it that's truly important to you. And that is in particular in the areas of relationships and work that you're meant to do in this world, or the job that you currently have. 2023 is numerologically a number 7 year, and 7 life path years are about introspection. It's about self-awareness. So this year is really going to be about going within. It's going to be about, what do I really want and need? It's going to be inwardly focused. And that is probably going to be a challenge for a lot of people. And so how do you navigate this year and go with the flow more? You allow yourself to be still more often, to really honor your inner knowing. You have everything you need inside of you. That really is true. I know that it's hard for us sometimes to trust that because of all our conditioning, and quite honestly, the way that the world works. The world teaches us that our value, our knowing what we need to be focused on, comes from outside of us, inward. But the truth is that what's inside of us is what matters most. And at this full moon, starting the new year, it's the perfect. We also have Mars in retrograde and Mercury in retrograde. Now, Mercury in retrograde always gets a really bad rap. And I'm a Gemini. Mercury is my planet. It's all about communication. And yes, there can be some technological snafus and there can be communication challenges. But for me, what Mercury in retrograde asks me is to just slow down, to listen more, to look at how I've handled similar situations in the past. How did that work out for me? If it didn't, do something different this time. It's really an introspective energy. And so we have this opportunity starting the year, this introspective year, number 7, right? We have Mercury in retrograde, another introspective energy. And we have Cancer, which is the full moon in Cancer, which is about what really matters to us in our heart and in our soul. So there's a lot of that introspective energy. And you have a choice. You have a choice in the coming year. Are you going to let the chaos of the world dictate how you live your life? Or are you going to be willing to have the courage to trust your own inner knowing and to surrender to that? To surrender is such a beautiful energy, and yet it is so freaking hard to do because it takes trust and it takes courage, and it also flies in the face of what many of us have been taught. It's like we've been taught you have to take action, you can't sit still, you have to go after what you want. Sometimes what you need to do is just be still long enough for the opportunity that's meant for you to show up, and to have the awareness, the inner knowing that that opportunity is the right next step for you. We get so caught up in that chaotic energy, and it's so easy. We've been conditioned to look outside of ourselves. And if I have one piece of advice for 2023 and making it your best year yet, it's about being critical with yourself about how you interact with the world. Are you going to let that energy out there influence you, or are you going to finally be grounded in your own self and in your own knowing, in your own sovereignty, and claim what is meant for you? It sounds so simple. It's not simple. It's hard, because quite often being true to yourself flies in the face of everything that we've been told. I know I've said that several times in this video, but it's so true. For so many, I just look at my own life. For so many years, I held back being who I was. Like, this is who I am. And I held back doing this, putting myself out there in this way, because it wasn't necessarily accepted by people who mattered in my life. And what did that get me? That just got me a life where I felt unfulfilled, unhappy. I made choices for others instead of me. I also was taught, or I won't say taught, but it was hammered into me from a very young age that I was selfish when I chose things that I wanted. And I heard so many times in my life that I was selfish that I started to believe it. And so anytime I wanted to choose what felt right to me, that messaging of being selfish came up for me. And I had to do a lot of work to move through that, to be able to understand that when I am choosing me, and, sometimes that can be selfish, but if you're really choosing you for what's best for you, what you know is going to bring you joy, what really feels in alignment with service to the world, like that's how I view this, what I'm doing, right? I am now in service to the world. And it's amazing. And by having the courage to step into this and to move beyond that messaging of being selfish and to choose what felt right to me and to show up fully as my authentic self in the world, it has opened doors that I never thought possible. And for the first time in my life, I really feel like I've come into my own. And that's what this year is all about. And this moon, this full moon, is just the beginning of it. It's setting the stage for the year to come. It's saying, please slow down a little bit. Take a moment to figure out what's important to you. Look at the close relationships you have in your life. Why do you have them? Why are they important to you? Are you showing up the way that you want to show up in those relationships? Is the other person showing up the way that you want them to? Is the relationship balanced? If the answer is no to any of those questions, then what are you going to do about it? What feels right in here? We have a choice. And just because a relationship matters to us does not mean that it's meant to be, that person is meant to be part of our lives forever. It's also true that there might need to be more space. The example I gave at the beginning, the work-life balance thing, like, I think a lot of people jump to the conclusion of, oh, I'm working too much and I'm not giving enough time to the relationships in my life that matter. But this message I'm going to say is mostly for the women watching this. It's been my experience as a woman and in my friend group that we tend to give so much to the relationships in our lives that we don't have time and energy for the work, whatever that looks like to you, that we are here to do in the world. And our planet is evolving. And those of us who are meant to be of service in a bigger way in the world, to show up for others, to do work that really matters. I think all of us has a mission. What is your mission? And have you been avoiding it at the expense of your relationships? I think it feels so important to get this message across, again, because I think typically we think of work-life balance as working too much. What if it's giving too much to relationships and not allowing space for your work in the world? Your work matters. And if you're listening to this and you've been avoiding your work, or your work always comes last on the list because everything else comes first, I really hope that in this coming year, you give yourself the space that you need in order to, in your relationships, and that you begin to trust your inner knowing and that you take action steps to move towards bringing that work into the world. It doesn't, like, honestly, I say this a lot, it doesn't mean that you're going to be the next Oprah. It could just mean that each day, maybe you volunteer at a soup kitchen, maybe you crochet blankets for homeless people. It doesn't have to be some huge, grandiose thing, but it can be really important service in the world. And so as you find your way, as you go within, take the time to figure out what's most important to you and how can you bring that into the world. That is the energy of this full moon. Many, many blessings. I'm so glad that you've joined me. I want to wish you a very happy new year. All the best in 2023. I really feel like it's going to be a good one. And as always, if you have found some nugget of wisdom, if you've enjoyed the video, please just go ahead and click that like button and the subscribe button. And don't forget to click the little bell so that you get notified each time I release a new video. Many, many blessings on your path. I look forward to the coming year and sharing this wisdom and I have some new things that I'm going to be mixing it up with, bringing to the channel. So I really look forward to spending more time with you in 2023. Blessed be.